Hey everybody, how's it going out there? Oh boy, another surprise. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like this program is interesting, and it's like I'm gonna talk about something, and then it's like, nope, we're not talking about that now. Now we're talking about something else. Thank you for the weekend. Thank you for the weekend. So now I'm recording on Sunday morning, doing this very short because there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend in the Northwest, and to me, it's just all a little bit of history repeating. I've been here before. I'm having a sense of deja vu. It's like, I've been here before. I've seen this before. Like, exactly. Like, everything that has happened, like, I've seen before. Like, basically the talking points in that. But we're going to go over that. So what's the history that's being repeated here? Well, Anthro Northwest is occurring right now. We don't have final numbers. I'll keep an eye on that. I'm probably going to be releasing an article today on Flare about it, and I'll probably wait until those numbers come in to know what the final stats were, to give sort of stats as well as this controversy. Like I did, I think I did that with Furlandia too, or Furlandia as well. This is actually Furlandia. Anthro Northwest is actually Furlandia too, but we're going to get into that. So what is this Furlandia thing? Well, back in 2013, there was a lot of fledgling conventions. There was, furthermore, which I had attended the pilot year of, and they had a good solid 700 people show up, and that was amazing for a first-time convention. And it was sort of almost a record holder, but it only held that record for a few months. After that came Biggest Little Fur Con, which needs really no introduction, but it was its introduction year, and it had even more attendees its first year. And it made headlines based on that, and Dogpatch was there, and he made a Flare article for that. Back then, Dogpatch, who was known for Dogpatch Press, was actually a contributor to Flare. And, that was before the whole, 2014 stint where Green Reaper got Ink Bunny, and so he published less articles, and so Dogpatch got impatient. He's like, I'm going to make my own site. And he made his own site, and he's happy, and it's great that we have sort of a competitor in the field. I say competitor in the field. We cover different topics, really, because there's so much news, guys, and hopefully the net keeps expanding a bit. So in essence, Dogpatch covered Biggest Little Fur Con. It was like 700 or like 750 attendees, and it was like, there's a big first con, and it grew like crazy, and now it's the third largest furry convention in the world. As of it was like 2016, I believe it became that. Only 3 years later, it's crazy. So then came the third one, which made news, but it didn't make news because of unfortunately, we didn't have people on the ground there. I did have a source in the convention who was an artist at the dealer's den, but as far as having actual feet on the ground, we didn't have any. But unfortunately, it had to be sort of written about because of controversy that stemmed from it. So what is Furlandia? Furlandia is a play on Portlandia, which is a sort of a cult movie or a show. I'm not quite familiar with it, but it's basically Portland is eccentric, and the first flying furry convention at Portland sort of showed how eccentric Portland can be. What ended up happening, and the biggest takeaway from that convention that a lot of people remember, was all of a sudden there were camera crews and a production company there, and people were like, what the heck is going on? And what they had learned is that MTV has shown up to do some filming for a segment of their True Life, I think it was called, segment. And did the stuff hit the fan. Accusations of the furry convention being a sellout convention for MTV, and the only reason these people put this convention together was to get MTV involved and to film the furries. That's what it was. It was a false flag convention. And is this sounding familiar just yet? Yes, accusations like that were being made. And, talking with people that happened, and they basically, the weirdest part about Furlandia is that the people involved didn't release any statements whatsoever about MTV's presence until after the convention. And so it was a big old storm that they were basically almost not even aware of. And I think it was mostly because Twitter was also sort of new back then. Like, people were just coming out of the LiveJournal phase of our furry's main platform being LiveJournal and moving into Twitter. And the Russians seem to have followed us. Hey, Russia's like, hey, we want this LiveJournal thing because we want to control their social media. Oh, all right, we're moving to Twitter. Russians won't follow us here. Oh no, Putin, stop following us, man. No means no. I know you tried to make your little soccer mascot to bring back and win our hearts, but man, just can you stop stalking us, please? Stop following us around the webs, man. I know you love the Bears, and the Bears are cool, but anyways. What were we talking about? All right, Furlandia, yes, Furlandia. So that happened, and I wrote an article about it, which basically put out a lot of details on it. So my new article is not going to like really rehash those old statements because it was sort of a preachy-ish sort of thing, and I felt it kind of in the moment because really MTV, you picked MTV, dude. Like it was like Viacom and MTV and CBS. We're really on the, if there was any media organization that was on the furries crap list at that point, it's those guys. Because they were the ones that made like the infamous things like Sex 2K and the CSI episode that's still talked about, the Fur and Loathing in Las Vegas episode. They were the ones responsible for that, and this guy's like, oh yeah, sure, come on in. And even worse was that they were complaining about being short-staffed, and it's like, and my response to that was, well, you guys are babysitting a news crew, and this is your first convention, and that's not the thing you need to be doing your first convention. The thing you need to be doing your first convention is making sure that you get the logistics down of your convention to make it enjoyable for your attendees. Not saying that I'm saying the same thing that Anthro Northwest. No, like, in case you didn't get that. But, like, even larger conventions are hesitant to bring in big media, things like that. Of course, there's going to be big media at bigger conventions. Except for Midwest. I don't think Midwest I've ever recalled anything. Now, like, Pittsburgh will always have press and stuff like that around. And, you know, Kagi directs those things and whatnot. He tends to talk to them a lot. But here's the thing. So, okay, so that was Furlandia. That was the incident at Furlandia. So what happened at Anthro Northwest? Well, Anthro Northwest has a similar issue. Convention attendees arrived, and they found that people were, you know, they had these on-camera release forms being disseminated. And then somebody leaked that to the internet. Because of course they're going to do that. Yeah, of course they're going to do that, dudes. It's like, if you blindside people with something, they're going to get suspicious. They're going to whistle blow the heck out of you. You need, like, we'll go into this later. But basically, this is a tweet by that Brown Rat, I believe. And so he shows three things. He shows the on-camera release form. He, like, whites out anything that's sensitive. So that's the left thing he shows, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. He puts that there. He has the thing, like a little placard thing that says, hey, this True Life with Lisa crew guys are going to be here recording stuff for their show. And then, like, below it shows what that Lisa thing is, what that True Life with Lisa show is all about. It's sort of synopsis. So in these three pictures, it's trying to show, hey, this is what's going on. Like, this convention is having attendees sign release forms. Now, this is even weirder. What gets even weirder is that you non-fursuiters got a benefit. You have to sign a on-camera release form to be present on the show. So you have to, like, you have to sign the on-release form for them to use your image. Fursuiters apparently are opt-out. So, and I'm sorry, but we'll get into this later. I don't think that's legal, particularly on with certain aspects and things like that. But we'll get into that later. But basically, fursuiters are opt-out. Basically, if you wear a fursuit, you need to sign an opt-out thing of them not being able to use your image on their show or whenever they're recording. Now, to be fair, yes, fursuits, you can't tell people's identities as well as people out of suit, so obviously people out of suit should get a privilege there. But at the same time, there was no agreement by the person in the fursuit to opt into anything. And saying that they have to opt out is, I don't know. It's gray. It's legally gray. And the issue is like, if I, as an attendee, as a fursuiter, signed for, we'll get into this now, signed up for your convention, and I signed up, let's say, in August, and let's say that you guys had an agreement with the Lisa people, and let's say you signed it in, let's say, October 6th, because you did release that agreement form, and yes, it was signed by you as the con chair on in late September, and was signed and agreed upon by the Lisa staff in early October. So here's an issue. There are a lot of furry attendees who signed up for your convention before that date. So there is absolutely no legal way that you could have had if you're a fursuiter, you allow your image to be used by media, by that. You couldn't have had external media, not convention media. You couldn't have had an agreement like that sitting in the terms of service of signing up for the convention before the fall. And a lot of furries probably signed up for your convention before the fall. So basically, if you're watching this, if anyone in the media or Lisa or whoever or staff is watching this, you got to be careful here. Even though the fursuiters did opt out, you should do your due diligence to get the permission of the suitors anyway. Because if you don't, and they signed up for your convention before you had the agreement, there's a legal case there. It's a case, I don't know whether it be win or lose, but I think there's a case there. Logically, there's a case there. I'm not a lawyer. Boozy's a lawyer, and all he'll say about it is, yep, that's a release form, all right. Because he's attending the convention. Of course, he doesn't want to muddy the waters and throw mud at people. He's like, lawyers know when to pick their battles, and only if they're getting paid, son, will they pick their battles. I'm a reporter. I pick my battles wherever and whatever, and just let you know that, yeah, like, the fact that a lawyer won't comment on any further than, yep, that's a release form, isn't the best thing. It's not like he's not saying, there's nothing to worry about here, or not. He's not being reassuring or anything. He's being cold, hard, neutral. That's an issue, guys. So be careful with your little opt-out thing. I'm just saying, be careful with it. And Lisa, I do hope you do, if you are watching this, and a lot of people will say, Lisa's going to be watching this Lisa person from the show. Hey, that article I wrote for Flare in 2013 for Furlandia, the producer of the MTV thing responded to it and said, we're not doing it anymore. And she did have that person did have a tint of like, we wasted all this time, all this effort, and now they're getting so flustered and angry, and now it's a personal relationship issue where our producers are like, well, no, like this was done in such a way where it soured our relationship with these, and we want to be on good terms with these guys. Rambling on further to convention staff. So now, to be fair to you guys at Anthro Northwest, you guys have more. You guys have had more ability to respond to this in a much quicker fashion, and I think that is a good progression, because Furlandia, as I said, the convention's still going on. You released the statement, which basically goes, yes, they're here. Yes, we are opting in. Yes, we are working together with them. They provide excellent content, and their content has been rewarded and seen in good graces with the GLBT community. So there's no real reason to be concerned about them painting you as sort of deviants or anything like that, and nothing to be worried about. That's better than what Furlandia did. Furlandia, like, you're using your Anthro Northwest Twitter feed in the best way possible. I'm seeing critiques of, like, obviously positive critiques because it's your thing, and of course you're gonna want positivity. But I'm seeing in the positive critiques, I'm seeing, like, here's a panel, here's a thing starting up, here's another thing. Like, you have at least, like, haven't had at least, like, dozens and dozens of tweets in the past 24 hours since your convention is running, and that's sort of expected when your convention is running, is that your Twitter feed's going to be very active. But so if you're not watching the screen right now, I have up on the screen is their response. Basically, they are saying that, you know, that they are working with them and blah blah blah. So when Furlandia was happening back then, and Twitter was sort of a new baby back then, as I mentioned, they only had 2 tweets the entire duration of the convention on their main Twitter feed. I had to gather information from a bunch of the con staff's Twitter feeds. I had to find their ats. I had to find out, it's like, okay, this is the at guy for this, and this is the at guy for that. And I'm like, dude, if I'm doing this as a person and doing this, a convention attendee probably is like, they're not going to know the people running the thing. Like, this is the thing you got to know when you're running a furry convention. The people who are attending your convention don't know who you are. Like, if I'm running a furry convention, let's say, for some freaking weird reason that I hate myself so much. If I have a Salt City Furry Con or something or whatever, for Syracuse, and I say, like, here's the convention thing, and I make all my update things on my personal Tantrum McNally thing, a lot of people visiting my convention aren't going to know who I am. And that's a good thing. In my personal opinion, it's like, it is an art. And like the art, it's like you need to make the magic happen without people knowing who you are. Because when people know who you are, it means they're probably upset at you. They either really, really like you or really, really don't like you. But in any case, they're seeing you and not the thing you're producing. So you need to be sure that you're using the main feed of your Twitter feed, your main convention feed, to make all announcements, any and all critique, like responses, any public-facing responses. And your main personal Twitters should probably keep their mouths shut about any personal convention things. And it should be run sort of through a PR sort of lens. That being said, and this is the most important thing about this whole thing, and this is sort of this is the same critique for Furlandia, this is the same critique for Northwest. If you have public relations and you're running a public thing, you need to be the one to throw the first punch. Now, don't look at me like I'm picking on these small conventions, because big conventions get it wrong too, and I'll go over that in a minute. But basically, when you hold back information that you know the public is going to know at some point, and you say nothing, you are granting the general public to make the first statement. Because I've seen a lot of people go, well, you're not an official blah, 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 blah. You're not an official channel where people are supposed to gather this information, so we shouldn't take you at your word, and even though they got receipts and pictures and all that stuff. Yes, okay, they're not the official panel, they're not the official channels in which you were supposed to learn that information. But the official channels that had that information didn't give it out fast enough. And the general public learned about that information first. So they're going to want to share it. And they're going to make the narrative. And that narrative is going to be, as it is whenever you shove it into the public sphere first, it's going to be filled with paranoia, conspiracy theories, all this stuff. And Lisa, and here's the sad fact of the matter. The person you brought on to say, hey, you're going to film this thing for this convention, and the furries are going to like it, it's going to be great. You lied to them because you, as the official channels, were supposed to communicate their presence to the furry fandom, and because you didn't do that, the furry fandom is now paranoid about them and making weird little accusations about them and causing them to have to go into PR defense mode. That was not Lisa and the producers of that show's fault. That is your convention staff's fault. And they should be really agitated with you. Quite frankly, the media who went there to record this thing should be upset with you over this. Because it was your job to tell the furries, it's like, hey, these guys are going to be here. They won this award. They're cool people. We vetted them heavily, and we think that it'd be a great opportunity to sort of show that this is an awesome thing, and hey, we could use it as propaganda for, like, this is probably their thought in the mind. This is why they're in defensive mode, like, I got to talk to the media, I got to talk to the media, I got to talk to the media, is that the Northwest right now is in defensive mode over rainforest. So if you're in that mode, it is very important that you're upfront and open about what you're doing. You need to throw the first narrative. Yes, it's a controversial decision. But those are even more important for you as the official channels to get that information out there first. Because if you don't get it out there first, then somebody else will. And that person will control the narrative. And when I'm saying that big conventions make this mistake too, I'm going to go back to an earlier video I did about a person at AnthroCon having their panel being removed from programming this year. And that was controversial, and that was To the Ranting Griffin. AnthroCon made a mistake when handling that situation. Their public relations team botched it. And this is why, because it felt like, and I realized this as soon as I was making this video and thinking about what I was going to say, that they failed that same rule. They told To the Ranting Griffin they would no longer be part of programming. They did not announce that to the public-facing channels before doing that, which is fine, but two is a person who is chatty. So you need to have a statement prepared. You need to have a statement prepared because you need to be the ones saying it first. You need to be the ones saying it first. And maybe they did. Maybe I'm misremembering things, but I do remember hearing the thing from To first, or hearing it from somebody retweeting To first. So you need to be the one to make the statement first. So the best way to do that, in this case, like let's say the To the Ranting Griffin example, you know that your board is going to remove him from your panels, okay? The thing you do is you take your person who's going to tell To that, and you get them into, it's like you get them together into a meeting, and say, To, listen, give him his "we're letting you go" spiel. But at the same time, your public relations department should have a public statement ready and willing to go, saying like the generic sort of like, our board has come to a decision that a performer with us will no longer be performing at AnthroCon in 2017, and they've been with us for a long time, and we wish them the best, and blah 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 blah. You have that statement written over here. You have this word sitting over here. You talk with To, and as soon as that meeting with To is done, the guy walks out of the room, gets on the phone, and says, make the public statement. Boom, public statement's out. Being as vague or as specific as you want to be. Probably vague, because that's AnthroCon. But here's the thing. When you are the one to say it first, the narrative of, they're trying to hide something. They're hiding something. They must be hiding something. Because here's the thing. There are a lot of people out there who have ulterior motives. They want to, or they're just, naturally paranoid people. And they're going to see the conspiracies and and furry has a tendency to have some of those individuals in it because statistically they have suffered abuses in their past. So they have that distrust thing in them. They are the most distrusting people you'll ever meet. And it's like, but at the same time, we're the most trusting people we'll ever meet. Like if you're talking to a furry to another furry, then they go, oh yeah, we're trusting of you, and then sort of it's sort of a weird mixture. That's what I'm saying. But they, when it comes to general public and media and things like that, they're pretty distrustworthy. Like they give Donald Trump a run for his money when it comes to like calling things fake news or like pointing at things like that. It's sort of why I feel that we don't have too many nonfiction writers in there, because not media and things get such a negative stint in the fandom that it's hard for a furry to go, well, I see myself as a journalist or a nonfiction writer, because we look at those things with such great positivity. Yeah, I mean, that little rambling aside, what I'm saying is that people make mistakes like that. But if you're making a controversial decision, you need to be the first one to throw the first narrative. People are probably going to get paranoid anyway. People are going to be thinking. But the one thing that they aren't going to be able to say about you is, well, they're hiding something because they didn't make the statement. I made the statement first. You're learning it from me. So I'm not somebody in the official channels. So, so you need to be careful about that. You need to be the ones to throw the first punch. And I'm going to, my hope is that we don't have to go over this a third time, because it's the second time we've had to deal with this sort of convention surprise. Haha, look, the media is here and they're covering, they're doing a big documentary thing, and we should have told you about that when we signed that agreement with them back in September and let you know they were being there back in September, but we didn't do that. By the way, the tweet to the statement that Northwest for our convention made, Anthro Northwest made, will be in the description below as well. It contains both the statement that I had on the screen earlier and also the form in which they had the agreement with the Lisa guys, which has the dates of which I'm referring to of, I think it was September 20th and October 5th, where both of them signed that particular working together agreement with the CNN Lisa lady. But it is an important thing on this. Furry is a self-made sort of thing, and it's important to realize that when we're doing this kind of things, that we communicate with one another to make sure we're not retreading old ground, making the same mistakes that have been made in the past. It is important that we understand the history of those who ran the conventions, particularly neighboring conventions. This is a convention from one state over. There is no reason that there shouldn't have been communication about, with other staff runners in other places about what's going on. Furries do have a tendency to have issues with communication skills and interpersonal skills, but that's something that needs to change if you're going to be running a convention. You need to have those interpersonal skills tailored, sharpened, and there, so that when you get to that point, you could talk with other people who ran conventions. Heck, Kage is there with you today. He could talk with you about that, but I don't think he ever made the mistake that Furlandia did. But he's made a few mistakes, like telling Tu about the whole... I'm going to link a video up here. Telling Tu about the reason that he got banned from the thing and expecting him not to leak it like a... Tu. Don't leak confidential information that your friend is telling you as a staff member that he's not supposed to be telling you because you're just an attendee. Ugh. I know you want to feel better about yourself, but throwing your friend as a leaker, you basically made your friend a leaker. He wasn't supposed to tell you that kind of stuff. It's not stuff that... If you were let go of programming, the convention chair isn't supposed to go, hey, this is why you were, it's politics. And then, yeah, okay, maybe it is, but that's a whole other video. Forget, let's make a whole other video on that at some point. But basically, I'll get the hop out of here, and hopefully lessons will be learned here, and hopefully they will be retained this time. I'm going to get the hop out of here. Kick a like, kick a button, kick a comment in the comment sections. I'm going to get the hop out of here. Thank you very much again for watching. And I've had some cuts back there because I'm being rambly more than usual. But I'm going to get the hop out of here anyways. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.